Part 1, The Magnetic Transformation Begins, Chapters 1 to 3. Here's something nobody tells you about the people who walk into a room and instantly own it. It's not magic. It's not some genetic lottery they won at birth, and it's definitely not about being the loudest voice or the best-looking person there. What if I told you that the ability to draw people toward you like a magnet is actually a learnable system? That every single person you've ever met who seems effortlessly captivating has simply figured out a code that most of us never even knew existed. I know what you're thinking. You've probably spent years believing that some people are just born with it, while the rest of us are destined to blend into the wallpaper. You've watched those naturally charismatic folks work their magic and thought, "That'll never be me." But here's the truth that's going to change everything for you. Those people you admire, they're not special. They're strategic. They've learned to tap into something fundamental about human psychology, something so powerful that once you understand it, you'll never walk into a social situation the same way again. By the time we're done here, you're going to have the complete blueprint, not some surface-level tips about smiling more or making small talk. I'm talking about the deep psychological triggers that make humans instinctively drawn to certain people and unconsciously avoid others. This isn't manipulation. This is understanding how connection actually works and using that knowledge to become genuinely magnetic. Ready? Let's destroy some myths first. Chapter 1. The lies you've been told about personal magnetism. Let's get real for a second. You've been fed some absolute garbage about what makes people attractive. The biggest lie? That magnetic individuals are just born different, blessed with some mysterious sparkle that you'll never possess. This belief isn't just wrong, it's the exact thing keeping you stuck while others around you seem to effortlessly build incredible relationships and opportunities. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Magnetism is a skill, just like learning to cook, play guitar, or speak a new language. And here's where most people completely miss the point. They think being magnetic means being extroverted, loud, always the life of the party. They believe you need to constantly entertain, always be on, always performing. This couldn't be further from reality. I've met some of the most magnetic people in the world, and you know what? Many of them are quiet, thoughtful. They don't dominate conversations. They don't try to be the center of attention. What makes them magnetic isn't their volume or their energy level. It's something much more subtle and infinitely more powerful. It's their presence. It's the way they make you feel when you're around them. Let me share something that might surprise you. Every single magnetic person has felt awkward. Every one of them has walked into a room feeling out of place. Every one of them has experienced that knot in their stomach before a social interaction. The difference? They've learned to work with those feelings instead of being paralyzed by them. They've discovered that confidence isn't about never feeling nervous. It's about showing up powerfully, even when uncertainty is screaming in your head. And here's another myth that needs to die. The idea that being magnetic requires you to be fake, to say what others want to hear, to put on some kind of act. Listen, people can smell fake from a mile away. Authentic magnetism doesn't come from trying to impress others. It comes from being genuinely fascinated by them. It comes from making others feel valued, not from making yourself look valuable. Think about it this way. Humans are wired for connection. It's in our DNA. We desperately want to feel understood, seen, truly valued. The most magnetic people have cracked this code. They don't waste energy trying to be interesting. They become interested. They don't work to seem impressive. They make others feel impressive. Simple shift. Massive results. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Every single interaction you have is either adding energy to someone's life or draining it. Most people are energy vampires without even realizing it. They complain. They gossip. They make every conversation about themselves. They seek validation like it's oxygen. Magnetic people, they're energy sources. They listen like it's an art form. They ask questions that actually matter. They make people feel energized, not exhausted. The psychology behind this is beautifully simple. Humans are naturally drawn to people who make them feel good about themselves. When you consistently make others feel valued, heard, and significant, they start associating those incredible feelings with you. That's how you become magnetic, not through charm tactics or clever lines, through emotional impact. This is exactly why trying to appear impressive backfires so spectacularly. When you're focused on how smart or funny or successful you seem, you're making the interaction about you. But when you focus on making the other person feel understood and valued, you create something psychological researchers call emotional bonding. They don't just remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel. And that feeling, that's what keeps them coming back. The most magnetic people have also mastered something crucial: emotional regulation. Your emotional state is contagious. Think about it. If you're anxious, nervous, or radiating insecurity, others pick up on that energy at a subconscious level. They feel uncomfortable around you, even if they can't explain why. But if you're calm, genuinely interested, radiating quiet confidence, that energy becomes magnetic. This doesn't mean faking positivity or hiding your authentic emotions. It means learning to manage your internal state so you're operating from strength, not neediness. When you're internally secure, others feel safe around you. When you're desperate for approval, people instinctively pull away. It's not personal, it's psychological. Chapter 2: Why Most People Accidentally Repel Others and How to Stop. Your brain is making split-second decisions about everyone you meet. This isn't opinion, this is neuroscience. Within roughly the first 10 seconds of meeting someone, your subconscious has already categorized them: trustworthy or suspicious, attractive or forgettable, worth your time or not. Understanding this process is everything. Most people have absolutely no idea what signals they're broadcasting. They walk into interactions completely focused on their own insecurities, worried about how they're coming across, desperate to make a good impression. And this internal focus creates exactly the opposite effect they're hoping for. Instead of appearing confident and attractive, they radiate neediness and discomfort. The fundamental problem is this: most people approach social situations from scarcity instead of abundance. They're thinking about what they can get from the interaction rather than what they can give. This mindset is instantly detectable and deeply unattractive. People can sense when you need something from them, and it triggers an unconscious resistance. Here's what happens in your brain when you meet someone operating from scarcity. Your mirror neurons pick up on their neediness. Your amygdala registers it as a potential threat to your energy. Your social brain automatically creates distance. You might not consciously know why you don't like someone, but your subconscious has already decided they're not safe to connect with. Now contrast this with how your brain responds to someone operating from abundance. someone who's genuinely interested in you without needing anything in return, someone who's comfortable with silence, someone who seems content and secure in themselves. Your brain categorizes them as high value. You instinctively want more time with them. The most repulsive behaviors all stem from this scarcity mindset, constantly talking to avoid silence, asking questions just to keep conversation going, agreeing with everything to avoid conflict, name-dropping to seem important, checking your phone to look busy, fidgeting nervously, interrupting to share your own stories, fishing for compliments. Each of these behaviors broadcasts the same message. I'm not comfortable with myself. I need external validation to feel okay. I'm more focused on my own experience than on creating value for you. It's social suicide, and most people have no idea they're doing it. Magnetic people operate from a completely different paradigm. They approach interactions from abundance, knowing they have value to offer without needing anything back. This fundamental shift changes everything about how they show up socially. When you operate from abundance, you're comfortable with silence because you don't need to prove yourself. You ask questions because you're genuinely curious, not desperate to fill air. You're willing to disagree because you're not dependent on approval. You give full attention without phone checks because you understand presence is a gift. This abundance mindset is built on a crucial understanding. You can't control whether others like you, but you can control whether you add value to their lives. When you shift focus from getting approval to giving value, everything changes. You become instantly more attractive because you're no longer needy. But there's deeper psychology at work here. Humans are naturally drawn to people who seem to have resources, whether emotional, social, or material. When you operate from abundance, you signal that you have plenty to share. This makes you magnetic because people want to be around those who elevate their experience. The most powerful psychological trigger for attraction, the feeling of being truly seen and understood. Most people go through life feeling invisible, playing roles, wearing masks. When someone makes them feel genuinely seen for who they really are, it creates an intense psychological bond. This is why surface-level small talk feels so empty, and why deeper conversations create connection. When you ask thoughtful questions, listen actively, and reflect back what someone is really saying beneath their words. You're giving them something most people desperately crave, but rarely receive. The neuroscience is fascinating. When someone feels truly understood, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This chemical response creates feelings of trust, connection, attachment. The person begins associating these positive feelings with your presence, making them naturally drawn to spend more time with you. Chapter 3. The Mindset Shift That Changes Everything. The difference between magnetic people and everyone else isn't what they do, it's how they think. Their entire mental framework operates from a different paradigm. While most people are trapped in self-focused thinking patterns, magnetic individuals have rewired their brains completely. The first pillar is shifting from internal focus to external focus. Most people spend social interactions trapped in their own heads, worried about their appearance, planning what to say next, wondering if they're being judged, analyzing whether they're making a good impression. This internal preoccupation kills social connection because it prevents you from being present with others. Magnetic people have trained themselves to become completely absorbed in the other person. Instead of wondering what others think of them, they become fascinated by understanding others. Instead of planning their next comment, They listen so intently, they often surprise themselves with their responses. This shift from self-focus to other focus is the foundation of magnetism. But this isn't about being selfless or sacrificing your needs. It's about understanding a fundamental truth. When you make others feel significant, you become significant to them. When you make others feel interesting, you become interesting to them. When you make others feel valued, you become valuable to them. The second pillar is adopting an abundance mentality in all social interactions. This means approaching every encounter knowing you have unlimited value to give without needing anything back. You're not trying to get approval, validation, or anything else. You're simply offering your genuine presence and interest as a gift. This abundance mentality eliminates neediness, which is the most repulsive quality in social interactions. When you need nothing from others, paradoxically, they want to give you everything. When you're attached to outcomes, people sense your neediness and pull away. When you're unattached, they're drawn to your freedom. The third pillar is developing genuine curiosity about human nature. Magnetic people are fascinated by what makes others tick. They're interested in dreams, fears, motivations, stories. This isn't surface-level curiosity about jobs or hobbies, but deep interest in inner worlds. This genuine curiosity is powerful because it's rare. Most people ask questions to be polite or to find openings to talk about themselves. But when someone is genuinely interested in understanding you, it creates an intoxicating feeling. You feel seen, valued, significant in a way that's almost addictive. The fourth pillar is emotional independence. Magnetic people don't need others to feel good about themselves. Their self-worth isn't dependent on external validation, approval, or reactions. This emotional independence is attractive because it signals strength and security. When you're emotionally independent, you can be authentic without fear because you're not worried about reactions. You can disagree without feeling threatened because your self-worth isn't on the line. You can handle rejection without being devastated because your value isn't determined by others' opinions. The fifth pillar is understanding that every interaction is an opportunity to make someone's day better. Magnetic people see themselves as positive forces in others' lives. They understand most people are carrying stress, insecurities, burdens. They see every interaction as a chance to lighten someone's load. This doesn't mean being artificially positive or trying to fix everyone's problems. It means bringing positive energy, genuine interest, authentic presence to every encounter. Being the person others feel better after talking to. The sixth pillar is developing what psychologists call secure attachment. Being comfortable with intimacy without being needy. Being independent without being distant. Being emotionally available without being overwhelming. Securely attached, people are magnetic because they offer the perfect balance of connection and freedom. The seventh pillar is mastering your internal state. Magnetic people understand their emotional state affects everyone around them. They take responsibility for their energy and make sure they're operating from a positive, centered place before entering social situations. This doesn't mean being fake or suppressing negative emotions. It means being aware of your internal state and managing it responsibly. If you're feeling anxious, angry, or insecure, you handle those emotions privately rather than making others responsible for managing your emotional state. The eighth pillar is developing unshakable self-acceptance. Magnetic people have made peace with their imperfections. They don't try to hide flaws or pretend to be perfect. Their comfort with their own humanity makes others feel safe to be human around them. When you accept yourself completely, others feel permission to be authentic around you. Your self-acceptance creates psychological safety that allows genuine connection to emerge. People are drawn to those around whom they can drop their masks and be real. This is where the transformation really begins. When these 8 pillars become part of how you naturally think and operate, magnetism stops being something you do and becomes something you are. And that's when everything changes. Part 2, Mastering Presence and Connection, chapters 4 to 6. Chapter 4, The Power of Presence, or How to Command a Room Without Saying a Word. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Before you even open your mouth, you're already having a conversation. Your body is talking. Your energy is broadcasting. Your presence is either drawing people in or pushing them away. And the crazy part, most people have no idea what message they're sending. Presence is probably the most underestimated element of magnetism, yet it's often the most powerful. I've watched people walk into rooms and instantly shift the entire energy without saying a single word. That's not magic. That's mastered presence. It starts with how you relate to physical space. Magnetic people move through the world like they belong everywhere. They don't apologize for existing. They don't shrink to make others comfortable. They don't move hesitantly, like they're afraid of being noticed. They inhabit their body fully and move with quiet certainty. This isn't about being aggressive or dominating space. It's about being comfortable in your own skin and owning your right to exist wherever you are. When you move with this kind of grounded confidence, others automatically perceive you as someone worth noticing. Your posture is constantly broadcasting your internal state. Slouched shoulders whisper defeat and insecurity. An overly rigid, puffed-up stance screams overcompensation. But a naturally upright, relaxed posture? That speaks confidence and self-acceptance. The key is finding what I call centered posture. Stand or sit with your spine naturally tall, shoulders relaxed, weight evenly balanced. Your head level, neither tilted up in arrogance nor down in submission. This posture naturally commands respect without appearing aggressive. Here's something fascinating. Your breathing affects your presence in ways most people never consider. Shallow, quick breathing signals anxiety and makes others unconsciously uncomfortable. Deep, slow breathing signals calm confidence and actually has a calming effect on people around you. Magnetic people breathe from their diaphragm, not their chest. This deeper breathing naturally slows their speech, lowers their voice pitch, creates a sense of groundedness that others find incredibly attractive. Try it right now. Breathe deeply and slowly, especially in social situations. Watch how it transforms both your confidence and others' reactions. Eye contact is perhaps your most powerful tool for creating presence. But most people use it wrong. They either avoid it out of insecurity or overdo it trying to appear confident. Magnetic people have mastered comfortable, natural eye contact that creates connection without intimidation. The secret? Maintain eye contact when others are speaking as a sign of respect and genuine attention. Break it occasionally when you're speaking to avoid seeming aggressive. Always return to eye contact when making. Important points. Your eye contact should feel natural and comfortable, not forced or intense. But real presence goes deeper than physical mechanics. It's about being completely absorbed in the moment rather than distracted by thoughts about past or future. When you're fully present, others can feel it. They sense they have your complete attention, which is incredibly rare and valuable in our distracted world. Most people are only partially present in conversations. Part of their mind is planning what to say next. Part is judging what's being said. Part is worried about their appearance. Part is distracted by external noise. This scattered attention is noticeable and makes others feel unimportant. Magnetic people have trained themselves to be completely absorbed in the present moment. They're not thinking about their response while others talk. They're not judging or evaluating. They're simply receiving and processing what's being shared. This complete presence is magnetic because it makes others feel truly heard and valued. Developing presence also requires mastering your relationship with silence. Most people are terrified of conversational pauses and rush to fill every moment with words. But silence can be incredibly powerful when used correctly. Comfortable silence signals confidence and allows space for deeper thoughts and emotions to emerge. Magnetic people are comfortable with pauses. They don't feel compelled to fill every moment with chatter. They allow silence to exist naturally, using it to create emphasis, allow processing time, and invite deeper sharing from others. Your energy level significantly affects your presence too. Low energy makes you forgettable and draining. Manic, excessive energy makes you overwhelming and exhausting. Magnetic people have learned to maintain what I call calm energy, a steady, positive vitality that's both engaging and sustainable. This calm energy comes from being genuinely interested in life and others without being dependent on external stimulation for excitement. You're enthusiastic but not desperate, engaged but not overwhelming, positive but not manic. The final aspect of presence is what researchers call embodied confidence. Your confidence isn't just mental, but physical. You feel secure and grounded in your body, not disconnected or uncomfortable with your physical presence. When you're embodied, your movements are natural and flowing, rather than stiff or nervous. You use gestures that support your words rather than distract from them. You move with purpose rather than restlessness. This embodied confidence is deeply attractive because it signals you're comfortable with yourself at the most fundamental level. Chapter 5. Creating deep connection, making anyone feel like they're the only person in the world. The ability to create deep connection quickly is what separates truly magnetic people from those who are merely charming or entertaining. While surface-level charisma might get attention, it's the capacity to make others feel genuinely understood and valued that creates lasting attraction and influence. Deep connection starts with a crucial understanding. Every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about, carrying dreams that might never be spoken, desperately wanting to feel significant and understood. When you approach others with this awareness, your entire presence changes. You become naturally more compassionate, patient, interested. The first principle of deep connection is learning to listen not just to words, but to emotions, meanings, what's not being said. Most people listen to respond rather than understand. They're waiting for their turn to talk, formulating replies, judging what they're hearing. This shallow listening prevents real connection. Magnetic people listen with what I call empathic accuracy. They tune into the emotions behind words, the needs beneath statements, the fears hiding behind confidence. They listen for what the person is really trying to communicate, which is often different from what they're actually saying. This deeper listening requires quieting your internal dialogue and becoming completely absorbed in understanding the other person's experience. You're not listening to find openings to share your own stories or evaluate whether you agree. You're listening to genuinely comprehend their perspective, feelings, experiences. When someone feels truly heard at this level, something magical happens in their brain. Their nervous system calms. Their defenses lower. They begin to feel safe with you. This neurological shift is the foundation of deep connection and explains why some people can create powerful bonds in just minutes. The second principle is learning to ask questions that invite deeper sharing. Most questions are surface level and predictable. What do you do? Where are you from? How's your day? These questions might start conversations, but they don't create connection because they don't invite vulnerability or meaningful sharing. Magnetic people ask questions that gently invite others to share more of themselves. Instead of, "What do you do?" they might ask, "What's lighting you up right now in your work?" Instead of, "How was your weekend?" they might ask, "What was the highlight of your week?" These subtle shifts invite more personal and meaningful responses. But the real art is in follow-up questions. When someone shares something meaningful, most people either change the subject or immediately share their own related experience. Magnetic people dig deeper with thoughtful follow-ups that show genuine interest in understanding more. If someone mentions they're working on an exciting project, a surface response might be "cool" before changing topics. A deeper response might be, "What makes that project so exciting for you?" Or, "What drew you to that kind of work?" These follow-ups show genuine interest and invite more meaningful sharing. The third principle is learning to reflect back what you hear in a way that makes others feel understood. This doesn't mean simply repeating their words, but identifying and acknowledging the emotions, values, meanings beneath their statements. If someone tells you about a challenging work situation, a surface response might be offering advice or sharing a similar experience. A deeper response would be reflecting the emotion. "That sounds really frustrating," or "I can hear how much that project means to you." This emotional reflection creates connection because it shows you understand not just the facts, but the feelings. The fourth principle is sharing yourself authentically when appropriate. Deep connection isn't one-sided. While you want to focus primarily on understanding others, genuine connection requires mutual vulnerability. The key is sharing in ways that deepen connection rather than shifting focus to yourself. When someone shares something meaningful, you might share a brief, relevant experience that shows you understand their situation. But the sharing should be concise and should lead back to them, not turn the conversation into being about you. The goal is showing you understand through your experience, not competing for attention. The fifth principle is creating emotional safety through non-judgment and acceptance. People can sense when they're being evaluated, criticized, judged. Even if you never say anything negative, this judgmental energy prevents deep connection because people don't feel safe being vulnerable. Magnetic people create safety by approaching others with genuine curiosity rather than judgment. They're interested in understanding different perspectives rather than proving their own viewpoints. They make others feel accepted for who they are rather than who they think they should be. This doesn't mean agreeing with everything or having no opinions. It means separating understanding from agreement. You can completely understand someone's perspective while having a different view. When people feel understood rather than judged, they naturally want to spend more time with you. The final principle is recognizing and appreciating others' unique qualities and contributions. Everyone has something special about them, but most people go through life feeling ordinary and unnoticed. When you genuinely recognize and appreciate what makes someone unique, you give them a gift most people rarely receive. This isn't about fake compliments or manipulative flattery. It's about genuinely noticing and acknowledging the qualities, perspectives, experiences that make each person special. When you help someone feel special and appreciated, they associate those positive feelings with your presence, making you magnetic to them. Chapter 6. The Conversation System That Makes You Unforgettable. Most people think great conversations happen by accident, but magnetic individuals understand that memorable interactions follow specific patterns. They've mastered the art of conversation guidance, not through manipulation or control, but through skillful steering that makes others feel heard, valued, energized. The foundation of conversation mastery is understanding that every interaction has an underlying emotional current. Surface conversations stay trapped in facts, opinions, logical exchanges. Magnetic conversations tap into emotions, values, dreams, deeper truths. The person who can guide conversations toward these deeper levels becomes unforgettable. The first technique is what I call emotional acknowledgement. Instead of staying on the surface of what someone says, you identify and acknowledge the emotion behind their words. If someone mentions starting a new job, instead of asking logical follow-ups about salary or responsibilities, you might say, "That sounds exciting and maybe a little nerve-wracking too." This emotional acknowledgement immediately deepens the conversation. When you accurately name emotions, people feel seen and understood at a level most never experience. Their brain releases neurochemicals associated with bonding and trust. They begin associating these positive feelings with your presence, making future interactions something they crave. The second technique is strategic vulnerability. Most people either share much too quickly, making others uncomfortable, or never open up, preventing real connection. Magnetic people have mastered graduated disclosure, sharing personal insights that invite deeper sharing without overwhelming. Strategic vulnerability means sharing something meaningful but not traumatic, personal but not too intimate, relatable but not attention-seeking. You might share a fear you overcame, a lesson from failure, a value guiding your decisions. This disclosure signals that deeper conversation is safe and welcome. The third technique is what I call assumption challenging. Most conversations stay predictable because people ask expected questions and accept surface answers. Magnetic people gently challenge assumptions and invite others to think more deeply about their experiences and beliefs. If someone says they hate their job, instead of immediately offering sympathy or advice, you might ask, "What would make work something you actually look forward to?" This type of question shifts the conversation from complaining to possibility, from problems to solutions, from victim mindset to empowered thinking. The fourth technique is masterful use of pauses and silence. Most people are uncomfortable with conversational gaps and rush to fill them with meaningless chatter. Magnetic people understand that strategic pauses create space for deeper thoughts and emotions to emerge. After someone shares something meaningful, instead of immediately responding, you pause for 2 to 3 seconds. This pause signals you're truly considering what they've said, rather than waiting for your turn to talk. It also creates space for them to add more depth, often revealing information they wouldn't have shared otherwise. The fifth technique is what I call perspective offering. When someone shares a problem or challenge, instead of offering solutions or sympathy, you help them see their situation from a different angle. This doesn't mean dismissing their concerns, but helping them discover new ways of thinking about their experiences. If someone complains about a difficult boss, instead of joining the criticism, you might say, "It sounds like this situation is really testing your patience and communication skills. What do you think you're learning about yourself through this challenge?" This reframe shifts focus from victimhood to growth, from external blame to internal development. The sixth technique is active curiosity escalation. Instead of asking one question and moving on, magnetic people dig deeper with follow-ups that show genuine interest in understanding the complete picture. Each question builds on the previous answer, creating a natural progression toward more meaningful sharing. This isn't interrogation, but genuine exploration. You're not asking questions to fill time or gather information, but because you're genuinely fascinated by this person's unique perspective and experience. This authentic curiosity is rare and magnetic because most people ask questions out of politeness rather than genuine interest. The seventh technique is emotional amplification. When someone shares something positive, you don't just acknowledge it and move on. You help them relive and expand on the positive emotion. If they mention an accomplishment, you might ask, "What was the exact moment you realized you'd succeeded?" Or, "Who was the first person you wanted to share that news with?" This emotional amplification serves two purposes. It makes the person feel celebrated and valued, and it associates you with positive emotions. They begin thinking of you as someone who makes them feel good about themselves and their accomplishments. The eighth technique is pattern recognition and insight offering. As you listen deeply to someone, you begin noticing patterns in their stories, values, experiences. Magnetic people occasionally offer gentle insights about these patterns, helping others understand themselves better. You might notice someone consistently chooses challenging projects and say, "I'm noticing something interesting about you. You seem drawn to situations that push you to grow. Is that something you do intentionally?" This type of insight makes people feel understood at a deeper level and positions you as someone who truly sees them. The final technique is conversation seeding. Throughout the interaction, you plant seeds for future conversations by asking about upcoming events, ongoing projects, developing situations. This shows you're interested in their life beyond this single interaction and creates natural reasons to reconnect. Instead of ending conversations with generic pleasantries, you might say, "I'd love to hear how that presentation goes next week," or, "You'll have to tell me what you think of that book when you finish it." This forward-looking interest makes people feel valued and creates anticipation for future interactions. These techniques aren't tricks or manipulations. They're skills that, when practiced authentically, transform you into someone people genuinely want to talk to, spend time with, and stay connected to. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And when you consistently make people feel heard, valued, and significant, you become truly unforgettable. Chapter 7. The Invisible Influence System, Getting People to Want to Help You. Here's something fascinating about true influence. It has absolutely nothing to do with force, manipulation, or aggressive persuasion. The most magnetic people understand that real influence comes from making others genuinely want to support you, help you, be around you. This invisible influence system operates below conscious awareness, but creates incredibly powerful results. The foundation of invisible influence is understanding human psychology at its core. People are motivated by their own interests, not yours. They make decisions based on emotions, then justify with logic afterward. They want to feel important, valued, significant. When you align your requests with these fundamental drives, influence becomes effortless. The first principle is creating psychological ownership. When people feel they've contributed to an idea or solution, they become emotionally invested in its success. Instead of presenting fully formed requests, magnetic people invite others to help shape and improve their ideas. Rather than saying, "I need your help with this project," you might say, "I'm working on this challenge, and I really value your perspective. What approach do you think would work best?" This subtle shift makes the other person feel like a valued advisor, rather than just someone being asked for a favor. The second principle is reciprocity activation. Humans have a deep psychological need to return favors and maintain social balance. But most people use reciprocity crudely, doing something and immediately asking for something back. Magnetic people use it strategically by providing value first without any immediate requests. You might offer helpful information, make a valuable introduction, provide emotional support, or simply give genuine appreciation. You do this without keeping score or making the recipient feel indebted. Later, when you do need something, people are naturally inclined to help because they remember how you've added value to their lives. The third principle is social proof leveraging. People are more likely to comply with requests when they believe others like them have done the same thing. Instead of making isolated requests, magnetic people position their asks within the context of what similar others have done. Rather than saying, "Could you introduce me to Sarah?" you might say, "I've been hoping to connect with Sarah about her sustainability work. I know you've helped connect people in your network before when there's a good mutual fit." This approach makes the request feel normal and socially acceptable rather than unusual or burdensome. The fourth principle is consistency commitment. People have a strong psychological drive to remain consistent with their previous commitments and stated values. Magnetic people gain influence by helping others see how requests align with commitments or values the person has already expressed. If someone has mentioned they value innovation, you might frame a request by saying, "Given your passion for innovative approaches, I thought you'd be interested in this opportunity to try something completely new." This makes saying yes feel consistent with their identity rather than like a favor to you. The fifth principle is authority positioning. People naturally defer to those they perceive as experts or authorities in relevant areas. But magnetic people don't claim authority directly, which would seem arrogant. Instead, they demonstrate expertise through subtle storytelling and helpful insights. You might share a brief story about a similar situation you've handled, offer a useful insight about your industry, or mention a lesson you learned from relevant experience. This positions you as knowledgeable without appearing boastful, making others more likely to value your opinions and requests. The sixth principle is authentic scarcity. People value things more when they perceive them as rare or limited, but crude scarcity tactics feel manipulative. Magnetic people create authentic scarcity by offering genuine value that's naturally limited. Instead of saying, "This opportunity won't last long," you might say, "I'm only able to take on 2 more collaborations this quarter because I want to give each one the attention it deserves." This creates scarcity based on your standards and capacity rather than artificial time pressure. The 7th principle is emotional state management. Your emotional state during requests significantly affects how others respond. If you're needy, desperate, or anxious, others unconsciously resist. If you're calm, confident, genuinely interested in mutual benefit, others are naturally more receptive. Before making any request, magnetic people ensure they're in the right emotional state. They're comfortable with possible rejection, genuinely interested in creating value for the other person, confident their request is reasonable and beneficial. This inner state comes through in tone, body language, energy. The 8th principle is timing and context optimization. The same request can get completely different responses depending on when and how it's made. Magnetic people pay attention to others' moods, energy levels, circumstances before making requests. They avoid asking for favors when someone is stressed, rushed, or dealing with challenges. Instead, they wait for moments when the person is in a positive state, has time to consider the request properly, and is most likely to see the mutual benefits. This timing awareness dramatically improves success rates. The 9th principle is reason why psychology. People are more likely to comply with requests when they understand the reasoning behind them, even when the reason seems obvious. Adding a brief explanation makes requests feel more reasonable and thoughtful. Instead of simply asking, "Could you review this document?" you might say, "Could you review this document? I value your perspective on these types of projects, and your feedback would help me make sure I'm not missing anything important." The added context makes the request feel more meaningful and personal. The final principle is graceful acceptance of all responses. How you handle rejection affects your future influence with that person. Magnetic people respond to no with understanding and appreciation rather than disappointment or pressure. They make it easy for others to say no, which paradoxically makes them more likely to say yes to future requests. When people know you won't make them feel guilty for declining, they feel safer saying yes when they genuinely can help. Chapter 8. Body Language Mastery. The silent signals controlling every interaction. Your body is constantly communicating, sending signals others interpret unconsciously but powerfully. Most people are completely unaware of the messages they're broadcasting through posture, gestures, facial expressions, movement patterns. Magnetic individuals have mastered this silent language, using their physical presence to create attraction, trust, influence. Understanding body language starts with recognizing that humans evolved to read physical signals for survival. Your ancient brain is constantly scanning others for signs of threat, dominance, submission, health, confidence, emotional state. These assessments happen in milliseconds and strongly influence how others respond to you. The foundation of magnetic body language is centered presence. Your physical being reflects inner confidence and stability. You're neither rigid with tension nor collapsed with insecurity. Your body naturally expresses the calm confidence of someone who belongs wherever they are. Centered presence begins with your relationship to gravity and space. Instead of fighting gravity by pulling yourself up artificially or surrendering to it by collapsing, you work with it by finding natural balance and alignment. Your jaw. Spine is naturally tall without being stiff. Your shoulders are relaxed without being slouched. Your head is level without being raised or lowered. Your breathing directly affects your physical presence and the energy others perceive from you. Shallow, rapid breathing signals anxiety and creates tension others unconsciously pick up on. Deep, slow breathing from your diaphragm signals calm confidence and actually helps others feel more relaxed around you. Practice breathing deeply and slowly, especially in social situations. This deeper breathing naturally slows your speech, lowers your voice pitch, creates a grounded quality others find attractive. Your breath is the foundation of your physical presence, affecting everything from posture to energy. Your relationship with eye contact reveals more about your inner state than any other single factor. Confident people make comfortable, natural eye contact that creates connection without intimidation. Insecure people either avoid it entirely or use too much trying to appear confident. The key to magnetic eye contact is making it feel natural and comfortable rather than forced or intense. Maintain eye contact when others are speaking to show respect and attention. Break it occasionally when you're speaking to avoid seeming aggressive. Always return to eye contact when making important points or asking questions. But true eye contact mastery goes deeper than just looking at someone's eyes. It's about being present and genuinely interested in the person you're talking with. When your eye contact comes from authentic interest rather than social obligation, it becomes magnetic because others can feel the difference. Your hand movements and gestures either support your words or distract from them. Nervous, excessive gestures signal anxiety and insecurity. Rigid, suppressed movement signals over-control and tension. Natural, purposeful gestures that support your communication signal confidence and authenticity. The most magnetic people use gestures that flow naturally from their words and emotions. They don't think about their hand movements because they're focused on communicating effectively. Their gestures emerge organically from their engagement with the conversation and the people they're talking with. Your posture tells a complete story about your confidence, energy, attitude. Collapsed posture signals defeat and low energy. Artificially rigid posture signals overcompensation and insecurity. Natural upright posture signals confidence and vitality without appearing aggressive or dominating. The secret is finding what feels naturally strong and comfortable for your body. Stand or sit with your spine naturally tall, shoulders relaxed, weight evenly balanced. Your chest should be naturally open without being puffed out. Your head should be level and balanced on your spine. Your facial expressions are constantly communicating your internal state and attitude toward others. Tense, controlled expressions signal anxiety and emotional suppression. Artificially animated expressions signal insecurity and people-pleasing. Natural, responsive expressions signal emotional authenticity and presence. The most magnetic people have naturally expressive faces that respond authentically to what they're experiencing in each moment. They're not controlling their expressions to create an impression, but allowing their genuine responses to show appropriately. This authenticity is attractive because it signals emotional health and presence. Your movement patterns reveal your relationship with your own body and your environment. Jerky, nervous movement signals anxiety and discomfort. Overly controlled, rigid movement signals tension and over-control. Fluid, purposeful movement signals confidence and comfort with yourself. Practice moving with intention and grace. Whether you're walking across a room, reaching for something, or adjusting your position, move deliberately rather than nervously. This purposeful movement signals you're comfortable in your body and confident in your environment. Your spatial awareness affects how others experience your presence. People who take up too little space signal insecurity and low status. People who take up too much space signal insecurity disguised as dominance. Magnetic people take up appropriate space naturally, neither shrinking nor expanding beyond what feels authentic. This means sitting or standing in ways that feel naturally comfortable without apologizing for your presence or trying to dominate others. You belong in any space you're in, and your body language should reflect this quiet confidence without being aggressive or inconsiderate. Your response to others' body language is just as important as your own. Magnetic people are skilled at reading and responding appropriately to others' physical signals. If someone seems closed off, they create more space. If someone seems anxious, they project calm. If someone seems energetic, they match their enthusiasm appropriately. This responsive body language shows you're attuned to others and care about their comfort. It demonstrates social intelligence and empathy, making others feel understood and respected. This sensitivity to others' physical and emotional states is a key component of magnetism. The integration of all these elements creates embodied confidence. Your confidence isn't just mental, but is expressed through every aspect of your physical presence. Your body, breath, movement, energy, all align to communicate authentic strength and attractiveness. Chapter 9. The rapport system that creates instant trust. Rapport is the invisible bridge connecting human beings at an unconscious level. When rapport exists, communication flows effortlessly. Trust develops naturally. Influence becomes possible. Without rapport, even the most logical arguments and compelling presentations fall flat. Understanding and mastering rapport building is essential for anyone wanting to become truly magnetic. Rapport operates below conscious awareness through what neuroscientists call mirror neuron activation. When you're in rapport with someone, your brains literally synchronize. Your breathing patterns align. Your vocal tones become similar. Your body language mirrors each other. Your energy levels match. This neurological synchronization creates feelings of familiarity, safety, connection. The foundation of rapport building is pacing and leading. You begin by subtly matching the other person's communication style, energy level, emotional state. Once rapport is established, you can gradually lead them toward different states or behaviors. This process must be done naturally and authentically, never as obvious mimicry. The first level of rapport building is matching communication preferences. Some people process information visually and use phrases like, "I see what you mean," or "that looks good to me." Others are more auditory and say things like, "that sounds right," or "I hear what you're saying." Still others are kinesthetic and use phrases like, "that feels right," or "I can grasp that concept." Listen for these language patterns and subtly incorporate similar sensory language into your responses. If someone says, "I can't see how this will work," you might respond with, "let me paint a clearer picture of the benefits." This sensory matching helps the other person feel understood at an unconscious level. The second level is matching energy and pacing. If someone speaks quickly and has high energy, matching their pace initially will help you connect with them. If someone is more reflective and speak slowly, respecting their tempo will create better rapport than trying to speed them up. This doesn't mean becoming a chameleon, but being sensitive to others' natural rhythms. The key is to match initially and then gradually lead toward a more optimal energy level for the interaction. You might start by matching someone's low energy and then slowly become more animated, bringing them with you to a more positive state. The third level is emotional state matching. If someone is concerned or worried about something, immediately jumping to optimism will break rapport. Instead, you acknowledge their concern and match their serious tone before gradually helping them see possibilities for improvement. This emotional sensitivity shows you understand and respect their current experience. However, you never match negative emotions completely or stay there. Your goal is to acknowledge where they are emotionally and then gradually lead them to a better state. This requires emotional intelligence and the ability to manage your own state while being responsive to others. The fourth level is value and priority alignment. Listen for what's important to the other person and demonstrate that you understand and respect those priorities. If someone values efficiency, emphasize how your ideas will save time. If someone values relationship building, focus on how your suggestions will improve connections with others. This doesn't mean changing your core values, but finding genuine points of connection between what matters to them and what you're discussing. People feel rapport with those who understand and appreciate what's important to them. The fifth level is belief and worldview acknowledgement. While you don't need to agree with everything someone believes, acknowledging their perspective creates rapport. You might say, "I can understand why you see it that way," or "that perspective makes sense given your experience." This validation of their viewpoint creates safety for further discussion, even when you disagree. You can create rapport by showing respect for their thinking process and acknowledging valid points within their position. This respectful disagreement actually builds more rapport than false agreement because it shows you're genuinely listening and considering their ideas. The sixth level is shared experience creation. Humans bond through common experiences, interests, backgrounds. Listen for opportunities to discover genuine connections. Perhaps you've both traveled to the same place, faced similar challenges, or share common interests. These shared experiences create natural rapport, but avoid forcing connections that don't genuinely exist. People can sense when you're trying too hard to find commonalities. Focus on authentic shared experiences and interests rather than stretching to create artificial connections. The seventh level is future vision alignment. When you can help someone see how your ideas or suggestions align with their future goals and aspirations, powerful rapport develops. Instead of focusing only on immediate benefits, connect your proposals to their long-term vision and dreams. This requires understanding not just what they want now, but where they're trying to go in life or business. When you show genuine interest in their future success and demonstrate how you can help them achieve it, rapport moves beyond surface connection to deeper alliance. The eighth level is trust building through consistency. Rapport isn't just about initial connection, but maintaining trust over time. This means being reliable, honest, consistent in your communications and actions. Every interaction either builds or undermines the rapport you've established. Follow through on commitments. Communicate clearly and honestly. Be consistent in how you show up in the relationship. Trust develops slowly but can be destroyed quickly. So protecting and nurturing the rapport you've built is essential for long-term influence and connection. The final level is unconscious competence in rapport building. This means rapport creation becomes so natural that you do it automatically without thinking about techniques or strategies. Your genuine interest in others and desire to create positive interactions naturally leads to rapport building behaviors. At this level, rapport building isn't something you do, but something you are. Your authentic desire to understand, connect with, and add value to others' lives naturally creates the conditions for deep rapport and lasting relationships. When you master these levels of rapport, you become someone people instinctively trust, want to spend time with, and naturally want to help. Because rapport is the foundation of all meaningful human connection, and when you can create it effortlessly, you become truly magnetic. Chapter 10. The Difficult People Strategy, Turning Resistance into Alliance. Every magnetic person eventually encounters difficult, hostile, or challenging individuals. The difference between those who remain magnetic and those who lose their power is how they handle these challenging interactions. Instead of becoming defensive, argumentative, or withdrawn, truly magnetic people have developed strategies that often transform their most difficult encounters into their most powerful relationships. The foundation of handling difficult people is understanding that their behavior usually isn't about you, even when it feels deeply personal. Difficult behavior typically stems from fear, insecurity, past hurt, unmet needs, or feeling misunderstood. When you can see beyond the surface behavior to the underlying human needs, you can respond in ways that often completely transform the interaction. The first strategy is what I call emotional redirection. Instead of meeting aggression with counteraggression or defensiveness, you redirect the energy by acknowledging the emotion behind the difficult behavior. If someone is angry, you don't defend against their anger, but acknowledge their frustration and try to understand its source. You might say something like, "I can see this situation is really frustrating for you. Help me understand what's most concerning about it." This approach often disarms difficult people because they expect resistance and argument. When you respond with understanding instead of defense, it creates space for the real issue to emerge. The second strategy is refusing to take difficult behavior personally. This requires emotional maturity and self-awareness, but it's essential for maintaining your magnetism in challenging situations. When someone is rude, critical, or hostile, your natural reaction might be to defend yourself or counterattack. Magnetic people resist this impulse. Instead, they maintain curiosity about what's driving the difficult behavior. They ask themselves, what need isn't being met for this person? Or what fear might be causing this reaction? This curiosity protects your emotional state and often leads to insights that help resolve the situation. The third strategy is finding the grain of truth in criticism or complaints. Even when someone is being unfair or overly aggressive, there's often a kernel of legitimate concern within their difficult behavior. Magnetic people look for this grain of truth and acknowledge it, which often diffuses the person's defensiveness. If someone angrily complains that you're always late instead of defending your punctuality record, you might say, "You're right that being on time shows respect for others' schedules. I can understand why that would be frustrating." This acknowledgement often leads to more productive conversation about the real issues. The fourth strategy is setting clear boundaries with compassion. Being magnetic doesn't mean accepting abuse or allowing others to treat you poorly. It means setting boundaries in ways that maintain respect for both yourself and the other person. You can be firm about what behavior you will and won't accept while still treating the person with dignity. You might say, "I want to understand your concerns, but I need you to speak to me respectfully. Can we restart this conversation with that agreement?" This approach sets a clear boundary while keeping the focus on solving problems rather than winning arguments. The fifth strategy is using the power of acknowledgement. Difficult people often become more reasonable when they feel heard and understood. Before addressing any problems or offering solutions, make sure the person knows you've truly listened to their perspective. Repeat back their concerns in your own words. Acknowledge the emotions they're experiencing. Validate any legitimate points they've made. Only after they feel fully heard should you begin addressing solutions or sharing your own perspective. The sixth strategy is reframing conflicts as collaborative problem solving. Instead of seeing difficult interactions as battles to be won, magnetic people frame them as puzzles to be solved together. This shift from adversarial to collaborative thinking often transforms the entire dynamic of the interaction. You might say, "It seems like we both want this project to succeed, but we have different ideas about the best approach. How can we find a solution that addresses both of our concerns?" This collaborative framing invites cooperation instead of competition. The seventh strategy is strategic vulnerability. Sometimes sharing appropriate personal information can humanize you to difficult people and create unexpected connection. This doesn't mean oversharing or making yourself vulnerable to attack, but finding ways to show your humanity. You might share a brief story about a time you made a similar mistake, acknowledge a limitation you have, or express genuine appreciation for something the person does well. This vulnerability often disarms hostility because it's unexpected and shows you're not trying to be perfect or superior. The eighth strategy is patience and persistence. Transforming difficult relationships rarely happens in a single interaction. It requires consistently responding with maturity, understanding, respect, even when the other person hasn't changed their behavior yet. This patience often eventually breaks through the other person's defenses. Many difficult people are testing whether you're genuine in your respectful approach or just putting on an act. When you consistently respond with understanding and professionalism, even difficult people often begin to trust and respect you. The ninth strategy is knowing when to disengage. While magnetic people are skilled at handling difficult situations, they also recognize when continued interaction isn't productive or healthy. Sometimes the most magnetic thing you can do is politely but firmly remove yourself from a toxic situation. This disengagement should be done with grace and respect, leaving the door open for future positive interaction if the person chooses to change their approach. You're not burning bridges, but you're also not subjecting yourself to ongoing abuse or negativity. The final strategy is maintaining your own emotional state regardless of others' behavior. This is perhaps the most important skill because your emotional state affects every aspect of how you handle difficult people. If you become angry, defensive, or upset, you lose your ability to respond strategically and often make situations worse. Before and during challenging interactions, focus on maintaining your center. Breathe deeply. Remember your values and goals. Choose responses that align with who you want to be rather than reacting to how others are behaving. This emotional mastery is what allows you to remain magnetic even in difficult situations. Chapter 11. Advanced Social Intelligence. Reading people like an open book. Most people stumble through social situations completely blind to the complex web of signals, motivations, dynamics happening around them. They miss crucial information that would help them navigate relationships more effectively, influence outcomes more successfully, avoid social landmines that damage their reputation and relationships. Magnetic people operate with a completely different level of social awareness. They've developed what I call advanced social intelligence, the ability to read unspoken communication, understand hidden motivations, predict social dynamics, position themselves strategically within any social environment. This isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. The foundation of social intelligence is understanding that every human interaction operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There's the surface level of what people actually say, the emotional level of how they feel, the social level of group dynamics and hierarchy, the personal level of individual needs and motivations. Most people only operate on the surface level, missing 75% of what's actually happening. Advanced social intelligence begins with reading micro-expressions and body language cues that reveal true emotions despite what someone is saying verbally. Humans leak their real feelings through tiny facial movements, changes in posture, shifts in vocal tone, unconscious gestures. Learning to read these signals gives you information others don't have access to. When someone says they're fine, but their shoulders are tense, their jaw is tight, they're avoiding eye contact, you know they're actually stressed or upset. When someone claims to agree with an idea, but their arms are crossed, they're leaning back, their voice lacks enthusiasm, you understand they have reservations they're not expressing. The key is developing baseline awareness. Everyone has different normal patterns of behavior, voice, body language. To read someone accurately, you need to notice their baseline and then observe deviations from it. A naturally animated person becoming still might indicate discomfort, while a usually calm person becoming fidgety could signal excitement or anxiety. Advanced social intelligence also involves understanding social hierarchies and power dynamics that exist in every group setting. Whether it's a business meeting, family gathering, or social event, there are always informal leadership structures, alliances, tensions, influence patterns that affect how communication flows and decisions get made. Watch for who others look to when decisions need to be made. Who speaks first in group discussions? Whose opinions carry more weight? Who defers to whom? Who seems to have informal influence despite their official position? Understanding these dynamics helps you navigate group situations more effectively and avoid inadvertently challenging the wrong people or aligning with the wrong factions. The most socially intelligent people are also skilled at reading social proof signals. They notice who has high status in a group, who is well respected, who is marginalized, who is seeking to improve their position. This awareness helps them understand how their association with different people affects their own social standing. They pay attention to how others are treated, what behaviors are rewarded or punished in the group, what topics are safe or dangerous to discuss, what unspoken rules govern the social environment. This awareness prevents social mistakes and helps them operate more effectively within existing social structures. Another crucial aspect of social intelligence is understanding individual motivation patterns. Every person is driven by core needs and fears that influence their behavior. Some people are primarily motivated by recognition and status, others by security and belonging, others by autonomy and control, still others by growth and learning. Learning to identify what motivates each individual allows you to communicate with them in ways that resonate deeply. If someone is driven by recognition, you emphasize how your ideas will help them get noticed. If someone values security, you focus on how your suggestions reduce risk. If someone craves autonomy, you present options and let them choose. Advanced social intelligence also involves reading group energy and emotional climates. Every social environment has an underlying emotional tone that affects how people interact. Sometimes the energy is positive and collaborative. Other times it's tense and competitive. Sometimes people are open and receptive. Other times they're defensive and guarded. The most socially intelligent people quickly assess the emotional climate and adjust their approach accordingly. In a tense environment, they might work to lighten the mood or address underlying concerns. In a positive environment, they capitalize on the good energy to advance important conversations or build stronger relationships. They also understand timing and social rhythms. They know when to speak up and when to listen, when to push for decisions and when to let things develop naturally, when to be serious and when to use humor, when to challenge ideas and when to build consensus. This timing awareness dramatically improves their effectiveness in social situations. One of the most sophisticated aspects of social intelligence is understanding social scripts, the unwritten rules and expectations that govern different types of interactions. Business meetings have different scripts than family dinners, which have different scripts than cocktail parties or religious gatherings. Socially intelligent people quickly identify which script is operating in any situation and adjust their behavior accordingly. They understand that violating social scripts, even unintentionally, can create discomfort and resistance, while following them appropriately creates ease and acceptance. They also recognize when it's strategic to intentionally break social scripts to create specific effects. A well-timed joke in a serious meeting, a vulnerable admission in a formal setting, or a direct question when everyone is being polite can sometimes create breakthrough moments that change the entire dynamic of an interaction. The most advanced social intelligence skill is perspective-taking accuracy, the ability to understand how situations look and feel from other people's viewpoints. This goes beyond empathy to actual cognitive and emotional accuracy about others' experiences. Most people assume others think and feel similarly to themselves. Socially intelligent people recognize that everyone has different backgrounds, values, fears, perspectives that shape how they interpret the same situation. They work to understand these different viewpoints rather than projecting their own perspective onto others. This perspective-taking accuracy allows them to predict how others will respond to different approaches, anticipate potential objections or concerns, tailor their communication to be most effective with each individual. It's like having a social GPS that helps them navigate relationships with precision rather than guesswork. The final aspect of advanced social intelligence is developing social calibration, the ability to continuously adjust your approach based on real-time feedback from others. This means paying attention to how others are responding to you and making micro-adjustments to improve the interaction. If you notice someone becoming defensive, You might soften your tone or ask questions to understand their concerns. If someone seems bored, you might change topics or invite them to share their thoughts. If someone appears confused, you might explain things differently or check for understanding. This constant calibration ensures your social interactions are effective rather than just habitual. You're not just going through social motions, but actively working to create the outcomes you want while ensuring others feel comfortable and valued in the process. Chapter 12: The Magnetic Lifestyle Design, Making Attraction Effortless. Becoming magnetic isn't just about what you do in social situations, it's about who you become as a person. The most attractive individuals have designed their entire lives around principles and practices that naturally create magnetism. Their attractiveness isn't performance or technique. It's the authentic expression of how they live and think every day. The foundation of magnetic lifestyle design is understanding that attraction flows from abundance, not neediness. When your life is full of purpose, growth, relationships, experiences that you genuinely value, you naturally become someone others want to be around. You're not seeking validation or trying to fill voids through social interaction. You're sharing the overflow of a rich, meaningful life. This abundance mindset affects every aspect of how you show up in relationships. Instead of wondering what others can do for you, you're naturally thinking about what you can offer them. Instead of needing approval, you're comfortable being yourself. Instead of fearing rejection, you're secure in your own worth. This internal abundance is magnetic because it's rare and refreshing. The first pillar of magnetic lifestyle design is developing genuine expertise and passion in areas that matter to you. Magnetic people are typically very good at something and genuinely passionate about their interests. This isn't about becoming impressive for others, but about developing yourself in ways that create authentic confidence and give you interesting things to contribute to conversations. Whether it's professional skills, hobbies, creative pursuits, or intellectual interests, having areas where you're knowledgeable and passionate makes you naturally more interesting to be around. People are drawn to those who have depth and expertise because they can learn something valuable from the interaction. But the key is authentic passion, not calculated impression management. You develop expertise because you're genuinely interested and want to grow, not because you think it will make you more attractive. This authentic motivation comes through in how you share your interests and makes others want to learn from you. The second pillar is maintaining physical and mental health as a foundation for sustainable magnetism. You cannot be consistently magnetic if you're constantly tired, stressed, unhealthy, or mentally overwhelmed. Your physical and emotional state affect your energy, mood, presence, ability to focus on others. This means taking responsibility for your sleep, nutrition, exercise, stress management, mental health. Not because you want to look good for others, but because you want to feel good and operate at your highest level. When you feel genuinely good physically and mentally, that positive energy naturally attracts others. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, healthy nutrition, stress management practices, mental health maintenance aren't just personal benefits, they're social advantages. When you feel strong, energetic, mentally clear, you naturally show up better in all your relationships and interactions. The third pillar is cultivating a rich social life that doesn't depend on any single person or group for fulfillment. Magnetic people have diverse social connections and aren't desperate for attention from any particular individual because their social needs are being met through multiple relationships and activities. This social abundance eliminates neediness and desperation that repel others. When you have a full, satisfying social life, you can be genuinely interested in new people without being clingy or demanding. You can invest in relationships without being attached to specific outcomes because your overall social needs are already being met. Building social abundance requires intentionally nurturing multiple types of relationships, participating in group activities and communities that align with your interests, maintaining friendships across different areas of your life, regularly meeting new people through various activities and events. The fourth pillar is developing emotional independence, the ability to feel good about yourself and your life regardless of others' opinions or treatment of you. This doesn't mean being isolated or uncaring about relationships, but it means your core emotional stability doesn't depend on external validation. Emotionally independent people are magnetic because they bring positive energy to interactions without needing others to manage their emotional state. They can handle disagreement, rejection, criticism without falling apart because their self-worth is internally generated rather than externally dependent. This emotional independence comes from developing a strong sense of personal values and identity, building confidence through achievement and growth, maintaining supportive relationships that provide emotional security, developing practices that help you maintain emotional equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. The fifth pillar is creating a lifestyle that regularly exposes you to new experiences, people, opportunities for growth. Magnetic people are interesting because they're constantly learning, exploring, evolving. They have stories to tell, insights to share, perspectives shaped by diverse experiences. This doesn't necessarily mean expensive travel or extreme adventures, though those can certainly contribute. It means saying yes to new opportunities, being curious about different types of people and experiences, challenging yourself to learn new skills or explore new interests, generally approaching life with openness and enthusiasm for growth. The variety and richness of your experiences directly affects how interesting you are to others. People are drawn to those who can share fascinating stories, offer unique perspectives, introduce them to new ideas or ways of thinking. The sixth pillar is developing contribution consciousness, a genuine desire to add value to others' lives and make a positive difference in the world. Magnetic people are often involved in work, hobbies, or volunteer activities that contribute to something larger than themselves. This sense of purpose and contribution creates natural confidence and makes you genuinely interesting to others. When you're passionate about making a difference, people want to hear about it and often want to support your efforts. Your sense of purpose becomes attractive because it demonstrates you're thinking beyond just your own immediate gratification. Whether through professional work, volunteer activities, creative projects, or personal relationships, finding ways to regularly contribute to others' well-being and success makes you naturally magnetic because it demonstrates character and creates positive energy around you. The seventh pillar is maintaining growth mindset, the belief that you can continue developing your abilities, improving your skills, evolving as a person throughout your life. This growth orientation keeps you curious, humble, open to feedback, all of which are attractive qualities. People with growth mindsets are magnetic because they're constantly becoming more interesting versions of themselves. They ask thoughtful questions, listen to learn rather than judge, are willing to admit when they don't know something. This humility and curiosity creates psychological safety that makes others comfortable being authentic around them. The eighth pillar is creating and maintaining personal standards for how you want to live and how you want to treat others. Magnetic people have clear values that guide their decisions and behavior. They don't just drift through life reacting to circumstances, but actively choose how they want to show up in the world. These personal standards create natural confidence and self-respect that others find attractive. When you know what you stand for and consistently live according to your values, you develop an inner strength and authenticity that draws others to you. Your standards might include how you treat people regardless of their status, how you handle conflicts and disagreements, what quality of work you produce, how you take care of your commitments, what kinds of behavior you accept from others in your relationships. The final pillar is developing social generosity. Genuine inclination to help others succeed, feel good about themselves, achieve their goals. This isn't about being used or giving without boundaries, but about naturally looking for ways to add value to others' lives. Socially generous people are magnetic because interactions with them leave others feeling better about themselves and their possibilities. They celebrate others' successes, offer genuine encouragement during challenges, share resources and connections that might be helpful, generally create positive energy in their social environments. This social generosity must be authentic rather than calculated. When you genuinely want others to succeed and feel good, that positive intention comes through in all your interactions and makes you someone others naturally want to spend time with and support. When these 9 pillars become the foundation of your lifestyle, magnetism becomes effortless. You're no longer trying to be attractive. You simply are attractive because of who you've become and how you live. And that's the most powerful form of magnetism there is. Chapter 13. The Network Effect, Creating Exponential Social Power. The most magnetic people understand something crucial. Relationships aren't just individual connections, but part of larger networks that amplify their influence and opportunities exponentially. They think strategically about how to build and nurture networks that create value for everyone involved, while positioning themselves as valuable connectors and resources within those networks. Understanding network effects begins with recognizing that your social influence isn't just determined by how many people you know, but by how well connected those people are and how much value flows through your relationships. One connection to a highly influential, well-connected person can be more valuable than dozens of connections to isolated individuals. But network thinking goes beyond just connecting with influential people. The most powerful networks are built on mutual value creation, where everyone benefits from the connections and everyone is motivated to maintain and strengthen the relationships. This requires thinking about how to create value for others, not just what you can get from them. The foundation of strategic networking is understanding different types of social capital and how they compound over time. Bonding capital comes from strong, close relationships with people who know and trust you deeply. Bridging capital comes from connections across different groups, industries, social circles. Linking capital comes from relationships with people in positions of formal authority or influence. Magnetic people cultivate all 3 types strategically. They maintain deep, strong relationships with core allies and supporters. They build bridges across different worlds and communities. They develop appropriate relationships with people in positions of influence and authority. This diversified approach creates a robust network that serves multiple purposes. The first principle of magnetic networking is leading with value rather than need. Instead of approaching relationships thinking about what you can get, you focus on what you can give. This might be sharing useful information, making valuable introductions, offering skills or expertise, providing encouragement and support, or simply being a positive presence in others' lives. When you consistently add value to your network, people begin to think of you as a resource and want to maintain the relationship. They also become naturally inclined to help you when you do have needs because they've experienced your generosity and want to reciprocate. But leading with value must be authentic and sustainable. You can't give more than you have indefinitely, and you shouldn't give in ways that create resentment or drain your own resources. The key is finding ways to add value that feel natural and energizing for you, rather than forced or burdensome. The second principle is becoming what I call a super connector, someone who actively helps others in your network connect with each other when it makes sense. This role is incredibly powerful because it makes you valuable to everyone in your network and positions you at the center of value creation. When you introduce two people who can help each other, both of them appreciate you for the connection. Over time, you become known as someone who facilitates valuable relationships, which makes people want to stay connected with you and share opportunities with you. Being a super connector requires paying attention to what different people in your network need and looking for opportunities to match needs with resources. It also requires being thoughtful about introductions, making sure both parties would genuinely benefit from the connection rather than just introducing people randomly. The third principle is maintaining consistent, appropriate contact with your network over time. Relationships decay without regular communication, but the key is finding ways to stay in touch that feel natural and valuable rather than forced or self-serving. This might include sharing articles or resources that would interest specific people, congratulating people on achievements or milestones, checking in during challenging times, inviting people to relevant events or opportunities, or simply reaching out periodically to see how they're doing and what they're working on. The most effective network maintenance feels like genuine relationship building rather than calculated contact management. You're staying in touch because you care about these people and want to maintain the relationship, not because you're following a systematic networking strategy. The fourth principle is strategic positioning within existing networks and communities. Instead of just collecting individual relationships, magnetic people think about how to become valuable members of existing groups and communities where natural networking happens organically. This might include professional associations, industry groups, alumni networks, hobby communities, volunteer organizations, social clubs. By becoming an active, contributing member of these groups, you naturally develop relationships with other members and gain access to their extended networks. The key is choosing groups strategically based on your interests and goals, but then participating authentically once you join. People can sense when someone is only participating to network versus genuinely caring about the group's purpose and activities. The fifth principle is developing what researchers call weak tie strength. the ability to maintain relationships with people you don't see frequently, but who might become important connections in the future. Research shows that many opportunities come through weak ties rather than strong relationships. This means keeping track of people you meet at conferences, former colleagues, friends of friends, others who aren't part of your daily life, but who represent potential future opportunities for collaboration or mutual benefit. Social media and professional networking platforms make this easier than ever. The goal isn't to maintain close relationships with everyone, but to keep loose connections active enough that reaching out in the future wouldn't feel awkward or inappropriate. This might involve occasional social media engagement, brief email updates, or attendance at events where you might naturally reconnect. The sixth principle is understanding and navigating the social hierarchies and influence patterns within your networks. Every network has informal leadership structures, key influencers, gatekeepers who control access to opportunities and resources. Magnetic people invest time in understanding these dynamics and building appropriate relationships with key influencers and gatekeepers. They don't ignore or alienate people with less formal influence, but they do recognize that some relationships have more strategic value than others. This requires social intelligence and political awareness to understand who really has influence, how decisions get made, what the unwritten rules are, how to position yourself appropriately within existing power structures. The seventh principle is leveraging network effects for others' benefit, not just your own. When you use your network to help others achieve their goals, you strengthen your relationships with everyone involved and enhance your reputation as someone worth knowing. This might involve making introductions that help someone get a job, connecting someone with expertise they need for a project, inviting someone to an event where they'll meet valuable contacts, or simply sharing information about opportunities that would interest people in your network. The more you use your network to benefit others, the more people want to be part of your network and the more willing they are to help you when you need assistance. The eighth principle is maintaining what I call network integrity, regularly evaluating your relationships and investing your limited time and energy in connections that are mutually beneficial and energizing rather than draining or one-sided. This doesn't mean being cold or calculating about relationships, but it does mean being honest about which relationships add value to your life and which ones drain your energy or create negative dynamics. Life is too short to maintain relationships that consistently make you feel worse rather than better. Sometimes this means having difficult conversations about changing relationship dynamics. Sometimes it means gradually reducing contact with people who are consistently negative or demanding. Sometimes it means being more selective about new relationships you choose to develop. The final principle is understanding that network building is a long-term strategy that compounds over time. The relationships you build today may not provide immediate benefits, but they can become incredibly valuable years later as people advance in their careers, start businesses, gain influence in their fields. This long-term perspective helps you invest in relationships with people who are early in their careers but show potential, maintain connections with people even when they can't help you immediately. Think about relationship building as an investment in your future opportunities, rather than just a way to solve immediate problems. The most successful networking happens when you genuinely care about the people in your network and invest in relationships because you value them as human beings, not just as strategic assets. This authentic care comes through in all your interactions and makes others want to maintain and strengthen their connection with you over time. Chapter 14. Maintaining your edge, avoiding the traps that destroy magnetism. Building magnetism is challenging, but maintaining it over time is even more difficult. Many people develop attractive qualities and build strong relationships only to gradually lose their magnetic edge through complacency, bad habits, or falling into psychological traps that slowly erode their attractiveness to others. Understanding and avoiding these magnetism destroyers is crucial for anyone who wants to remain attractive and influential throughout their life. The most successful magnetic people have learned to recognize early warning signs and correct course before their attractiveness begins to decline. The first magnetism destroyer is what I call success complacency. When people achieve a certain level of social or professional success, they often stop doing the things that made them successful in the first place. They become less interested in others, less willing to learn and grow, more focused on maintaining status than continuing to develop their character and skills. This complacency is deadly to magnetism because it shifts you from a growth mindset to a fixed mindset, from abundance thinking to scarcity thinking, from other focus to self-focus. People can sense when someone has become complacent and entitled, and it makes them less attractive regardless of past achievements. Avoiding success complacency requires maintaining humility and curiosity even as you achieve your goals. Continue learning new things. Stay genuinely interested in others' perspectives and experiences. Remember that your past successes don't entitle you to future relationships or opportunities. The second destroyer is emotional. Neediness creep. Even people who start with healthy emotional independence can gradually become more needy and dependent on others for validation, especially if they go through difficult periods or face unexpected challenges. This neediness slowly erodes their attractiveness as others begin to feel responsible for managing their emotional state. Neediness can show up as requiring constant reassurance, becoming overly sensitive to others' moods and reactions, making others responsible for your happiness, seeking validation through achievements or recognition, becoming possessive or controlling in relationships. Preventing neediness creep requires maintaining your emotional independence practices even during difficult times. This means continuing to take responsibility for your own emotional state, maintaining supportive relationships that provide emotional security, developing resilience practices that help you handle challenges without becoming dependent on others for emotional support. The third destroyer is social script rigidity. Some people develop social skills and then use them mechanically rather than adapting to different situations and people. They become predictable and formulaic in their interactions, which reduces their authenticity and makes them less interesting to be around. This happens when people focus on techniques rather than genuine connection, when they stop paying attention to individual differences and unique situations, when they become more concerned with appearing socially skilled than with actually connecting with others. Avoiding social script rigidity requires maintaining flexibility and authenticity in your social interactions. Continue paying attention to individual differences, adapting your approach to different people and situations, focusing on genuine connection rather than just demonstrating social competence. The fourth destroyer is negative energy accumulation. Everyone faces challenges, disappointments, setbacks, but some people allow these negative experiences to accumulate and affect their overall energy and attitude. They become gradually more cynical, critical, pessimistic, which makes them draining rather than energizing to be around. This negative energy can manifest as chronic complaining, gossiping about others, focusing on problems rather than solutions, becoming critical of others' decisions and choices, developing a general pessimistic worldview that colors all your interactions. Preventing negative energy accumulation requires actively managing your emotional state and developing practices that help you process negative experiences without allowing them to poison your overall outlook. This might include therapy, meditation, exercise, journaling, or other practices that help you maintain perspective and emotional balance. The fifth destroyer is relationship taking. Some people become so comfortable in their relationships that they stop investing effort in maintaining them. They take others' affection and loyalty for granted and stop doing the things that originally built the connection. This might show up as becoming less attentive to others' needs and interests, stopping the thoughtful gestures that originally built the relationship, taking others' time and attention for granted, becoming less appreciative of others' contributions to your life. Preventing relationship taking requires continuing to invest in your relationships even after they're established. This means regularly expressing appreciation, continuing to show interest in others' lives and goals, never taking others' loyalty and affection for granted. The sixth destroyer is influence corruption. Some people become so skilled at influencing others that they begin using their abilities manipulatively rather than ethically. They start prioritizing getting what they want over what's best for others, which gradually erodes trust and respect. This corruption often happens gradually as people rationalize small ethical compromises that eventually lead to larger violations of trust. They might start using their influence to benefit themselves at others' expense, manipulating others' emotions to get what they want, violating the trust that others have placed in them. Preventing influence corruption requires maintaining clear ethical boundaries and regularly examining your motivations for influencing others. Ask yourself whether your influence is serving others' best interests as well as your own, and be willing to sacrifice short-term gains to maintain long-term trust and respect. The seventh destroyer is social media distortion. The constant exposure to others' highlight reels can create insecurity and self-doubt that undermines your natural confidence and authenticity. It can also create addictive behaviors that interfere with your ability to be present and engaged in real-life interactions. Social media comparison can lead to artificial behavior as you try to compete with others' online presentations, distraction from real relationships as you focus on digital validation, insecurity about your own life and achievements compared to others' curated presentations. Managing social media's impact on your magnetism requires being intentional about your usage, focusing on genuine connection rather than digital validation, maintaining perspective about the difference between online presentations and real life. The eighth destroyer is comfort zone calcification. Some people become so comfortable in their established social circles and routines that they stop challenging themselves to grow and meet new people. This stagnation gradually makes them less interesting and dynamic. This calcification shows up as avoiding new social situations or challenges, becoming predictable in your interests and activities, losing curiosity about different types of people and experiences, becoming overly attached to familiar routines and relationships. Preventing comfort zone calcification requires continuously challenging yourself to grow, learn, meet new people. This doesn't mean constantly changing everything about your life, but it does mean remaining open to new experiences and relationships that can help you continue evolving. The final destroyer is authenticity abandonment. Some people become so focused on maintaining their magnetic image that they lose touch with their authentic selves. They become performative rather than genuine, which ultimately undermines their attractiveness as people sense the lack of authenticity. This abandonment happens when you prioritize others' approval over your own values and preferences, when you become more concerned with appearing attractive than with being true to yourself, when you lose sight of what actually matters to you in pursuit of social success. Maintaining authenticity while developing magnetism requires staying connected to your core values and identity throughout your social development. Your goal should be to become the most attractive version of yourself, not to become someone else entirely. The most sustainable magnetism comes from authentic self-expression rather than calculated performance. When you remain true to who you are while developing these magnetic qualities, you create an attractiveness that's both powerful and enduring. Chapter 15, Your Complete Transformation, Becoming the Person Everyone Wants to Know. Everything you've learned throughout this journey comes together in one fundamental shift, transforming your identity from someone who hopes to be liked to someone who naturally attracts others through authentic value creation. This isn't about changing who you are at your core, but about expressing your authentic self in ways that naturally draw others to you. True magnetism isn't a performance you put on or a set of techniques you use. It's who you become when you integrate all these principles into your natural way of being. The most magnetic people don't think about being magnetic. They simply are magnetic because magnetism has become their natural expression of how they see themselves and interact with the world. This identity transformation begins with understanding that your old social identity was likely built around scarcity, fear, need. You approached relationships wondering if others would like you, worried about saying the wrong thing, focused on getting approval, validation, acceptance from others. This neediness created exactly the opposite effect you were hoping for. Your new magnetic identity is built around abundance, confidence, contribution. You approach relationships knowing you have value to offer, confident in your ability to handle any social situation, focused on what you can give to others rather than what you can get from them. This fundamental shift in mindset changes everything about how you show up in social situations. You're no longer asking, "Will they like me?" You're asking, "How can I make this person's day better?" You're no longer worried about being impressive. You're focused on making others feel impressive. You're no longer seeking validation. You're offering genuine appreciation. The first aspect of your new identity is social leadership. This doesn't mean being the loudest person in the room or trying to control every interaction. It means taking responsibility for the energy and outcomes of your social interactions. You become someone who makes social situations better through your presence and participation. Social leaders enter interactions with positive energy and genuine interest in others. They help others feel comfortable and valued. They guide conversations toward meaningful topics. They handle difficult moments with grace and maturity. They leave others feeling better about themselves and excited about future interactions. This leadership isn't about dominance or control, but about service. You lead by serving others' needs for connection, understanding, significance. When you consistently make others' social experiences better, you naturally become someone they want to be around more often. The second aspect is emotional sovereignty. You take complete responsibility for your emotional state and never make others responsible for managing your feelings or reactions. You feel good about yourself regardless of how others treat you. You maintain your positive energy even in challenging social situations. Emotional sovereignty makes you incredibly attractive because it signals strength, maturity, emotional intelligence. Others feel safe around you because they know you won't have emotional outbursts, won't become needy or demanding, won't blame them for your feelings or reactions. This sovereignty comes from developing strong self-worth that's internally generated rather than externally dependent, building emotional resilience that allows you to handle rejection and criticism without falling apart, creating a lifestyle that provides emotional fulfillment independent of any specific relationship or interaction. The third aspect is authentic confidence. This isn't arrogance, superiority, false bravado. It's the quiet certainty that you can handle whatever social situation you encounter and that you have genuine value to offer others regardless of their initial reaction to you. Authentic confidence comes from competence and experience. As you practice these principles and see positive results, your confidence naturally increases. You know you can create rapport with almost anyone, handle difficult people gracefully, add value to any interaction. This knowledge gives you a relaxed confidence others find attractive. But authentic confidence also includes humility and willingness to continue learning and growing. You're confident in your abilities while remaining open to feedback and new perspectives. This balance of confidence and humility is incredibly magnetic because it signals both strength and wisdom. The fourth aspect is contribution consciousness. Your primary focus shifts from what you can get from social interactions to what you can give. You become genuinely interested in helping others feel better about themselves, achieve their goals, have positive experiences. This contribution consciousness isn't about people-pleasing or self-sacrifice. It's about understanding that the best way to get what you want socially is to help others get what they want. When you consistently add value to others' lives, they naturally want to add value to yours in return. This might involve helping someone solve a problem, making them feel heard and understood, introducing them to valuable connections, sharing useful information, or simply bringing positive energy to their day. The key is that your contribution is genuine and comes from abundance rather than neediness. The fifth aspect is social calibration mastery. You've developed the ability to read social situations accurately and adjust your approach in real time to create the best possible outcomes for everyone involved. You can quickly assess the energy and dynamics of any social environment and position yourself appropriately. You understand what's needed in each moment, whether it's humor to lighten the mood, serious attention to address important issues, quiet presence to allow others to express themselves. This calibration ability comes from experience and awareness. You've practiced reading social cues, understanding different personality types, adapting your communication style. You can now do this naturally without having to think consciously about techniques or strategies. The sixth aspect is network leadership. You've become someone who adds value to your entire social network, not just individual relationships. You connect people who can help each other. You share opportunities and resources. You generally make your social environment richer and more valuable for everyone involved. Network leaders are naturally magnetic because they're valuable to everyone they know. People want to maintain relationships with them because they consistently create opportunities for mutual benefit. They become central figures in their social and professional circles. The seventh aspect is emotional contagion mastery. You understand that your emotional state affects everyone around you, and you take responsibility for bringing positive energy to your interactions. You've learned to manage your own emotional state so effectively that you naturally elevate others' moods and energy levels. This doesn't mean being artificially positive or suppressing negative emotions. It means processing your emotions appropriately and choosing to show up with the energy that will best serve the situation and the people involved. Others feel better after spending time with you because of the positive emotional impact you create. The eighth aspect is authentic vulnerability. You're comfortable sharing appropriate personal information and genuine emotions when it serves the connection and the relationship. You're not hiding behind a perfect image, but you're also not oversharing or making others responsible for your emotional processing. This authentic vulnerability creates deep connections because it gives others permission to be real with you. They feel safe dropping their masks and being authentic because you've modeled that authenticity is welcome and valued in the relationship. The ninth aspect is integration. All these qualities have become so natural to you that you no longer think about being magnetic. You simply are magnetic because it's become your natural way of being in the world. You approach new people with genuine curiosity and interest. You handle challenges with grace and resilience. You add value to every interaction without keeping score. You maintain your emotional equilibrium regardless of others' behavior. You create positive energy wherever you go. This integration means magnetism is no longer something you do, but something you are. It's not a performance or technique, but the natural expression of who you've become through this transformation process. Others are drawn to you not because of what you're trying to accomplish, but because of who you authentically are. Your new identity as a people magnet is stable and sustainable because it's built on genuine personal development rather than manipulation or performance. You've become someone who truly does make others' lives better through your presence. And that authentic value creation is what makes you genuinely and permanently attractive to others. This transformation affects every area of your life. Your personal relationships become deeper and more satisfying. Your professional relationships become more productive and beneficial. Your social experiences become more enjoyable and meaningful. Most importantly, you feel more confident, authentic, fulfilled because you're expressing the best version of yourself in all your interactions. The journey to becoming a people magnet is ultimately a journey to becoming the most attractive version of your authentic self. When you complete this transformation, you'll discover that the magnetism you've developed isn't something separate from who you are, but the natural expression of your best qualities shared generously with the world around you. You'll walk into rooms differently, You'll engage with people differently. You'll create connections differently, not because you're trying harder, but because you've fundamentally transformed who you are at your core. People will be drawn to you without you having to work for it. Opportunities will come to you because of the relationships you've built. Your influence will expand because people trust and respect you. Your life will become richer because you've mastered the art of human connection. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning. Because once you become magnetic, once you understand these principles at a deep level, once you've integrated them into your identity, you'll continue to grow, evolve, become even more attractive as you gain experience and wisdom. The world needs more magnetic people, not manipulators or performers, but genuine, authentic individuals who make others feel valued, understood, significant. People who create positive energy wherever they go. People who make the world a little bit better through every interaction. You now have everything you need to become that person. The principles, the techniques, the mindset. The only question is, will you do it? Will you practice these skills until they become second nature? Will you challenge yourself to grow beyond your comfort zone? Will you commit to becoming the most magnetic version of yourself? The choice is yours. But I can promise you this: if you commit to this transformation, if you integrate these principles into your daily life, if you approach every interaction as an opportunity to add value and create connection, your life will never be the same. You'll become the person everyone wants to know, the person others seek out for advice, support, connection, the person who makes every room better just by being in it. That's not hyperbole. That's the power of becoming truly magnetic, and it's available to you right now, today, in this moment. All you have to do is decide to become it. Welcome to your new life as a people magnet. The journey starts now.